Thank you so much. I was able to preview a little bit of what Ronnie was going to say, and it was enough that I cried quite a bit, so I was able to hold it together some today, and it really helped. And before I start out with some thank yous, not least of which, Dr. Lewis, thank you so much. It was wonderful, and I greatly appreciate you, and did a fantastic job, and love working with you and Dr. Jones at ACOM. But we need to clear up some things before we get too serious. You know, y'all are expecting a few more jokes, and I've got some material that I just came up with while I was sitting up there, you know, during those long videos, and I said, oh, I can write some jokes during this downtime here, right? And I was thinking, you know, I was looking at these wonderful pictures of my great, wonderful parents who sacrificed a lot for the family. I was the oldest of 4 boys, and we were trouble for a time. But Mom, if you notice, looked a bit like Patsy Cline, you know, from that area, Eastern Kentucky and everything. And I thought Dad was like a young Kirk Douglas looking vibe going on there. And so you put those two together, and what you get is a bigger, stronger, smarter Brad Pitt, right? And, you know, just slightly less hair, but, you know, I can pull that off. And then the other thing, I was looking at that map with that little car running around, you know, and it looked like that little car in Monopoly that nobody wants, right, because it's hard to pick up. And it was about the same size of my first car, which was a Chevy Chevette, and it could have never made that trip, you know, north to Pennsylvania, I can tell you that. But I think that the biggest thing, and I really want to thank this group for not laughing and applauding when you saw those pictures of me with all that hair, you know. And there was one picture, it's like a helmet, you know, of hair. But Sherry wouldn't let me put in, she allowed the one where I had a little bit of a mullet, but she wouldn't let me put the one in after the home perm, you know. Oh, I mean, it's, you know, just choose wisely, young folks. That's all I can say. But I want to, as we go forward a little bit, this is a little bit more sad, but some funny aspects to it, because growing up at Detroit public schools and then moving to rural North Florida, about 30 miles south of Jacksonville, you know, we didn't have a lot of extra, but we had what we needed. And one of the other pictures, you know, class pictures from elementary school that I didn't put up there was, you know, I broke my glasses, you know, and I broke them in the bridge and had no way to replace them right away. And so, you know, and class pictures were coming up, and you know, staple gun wasn't going to work. Had duct tape and Band-Aids. We didn't even have any Scotch tape, you know, and there wasn't a store nearby that I'll just pop in the store and get some, and I had to make it a pictures, and I wasn't smart enough. Like, well, why don't you just take your glasses off for your photo? You know, I'm just a kid. I'm not problem solving like a good osteopathic physician does now. But so I chose the Band-Aid, and so I got this big, thick Band-Aid right in the middle. But Sherry wouldn't let me use that picture. And then the science fair picture, I won a Tri-County Science Fair there in North Florida. I mean, I got some real money, and that's where I got a little scholarship to junior college, you know. That kind of put me on my path. and the superintendent of my school district, you know, and we're at this Orange Park Mall. It's like a 3-story mall. There's 1,000 people. I mean, more people than here. Better dressed people than here. You know, and he put me on the spot, just like Piccinini does all the time. Like, no preparation, just, hey, Rich, why don't you say something? And the superintendent's like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was a senior in high school. It was early in the year, and I said, a doctor. But I hadn't really, truly, fully aspired to that only because I didn't think I could be. And this speaks to some of your initiatives, Bob, in terms of the legacy and heritage and first-generation college students. Well, it certainly was me. And I'm like, you know what? That darn science fair empowered me to say I can be a doctor. I'm going to go to medical school. I wanted to aspire to something a little bit more. And, you know, the biggest aspiration I had to that point was still healthcare related. I was going to be an x-ray tech because I had a family member who was an x-ray tech. They had a pretty good job with a pretty good living, and that was my aspiration. So that's in part why it's so important for me to mentor young people. And you should be part of that too. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. And I'll say one last thing. That suit that I was wearing, it was a leisure suit, polyester, and it was the best clothes I had because that was my uniform for stage band that, the school provided. So with that, I want to thank Speaker Morrison, Vice Speaker Broder, who I love these guys. There should be no doubt about it, as many of us here do. I gave Meech a kiss on the cheek, but Broder's got the worst aftershave. My God. I didn't even think they kept selling Aquavelva, But, Kathleen Creason, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you and your consummate professional staff that you've put together that all of us have enjoyed now this past week and throughout the years and years to come. I want to thank Dr. Piccinini, not so much for today, but leading up to today anyway. And it's your guidance and your friendship, your leadership, and your insightful feeling and knowledge to know what the AOA needed this year. And thank you for that. Yes. Dr. Piccinini, he's done so much for our profession this year, but years leading up to this. It's a journey, as you've heard, and I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to share that journey up to this point, and particularly this year with him. It's also a pleasure once again to work with Dr. Lewis, Dr. Jones, and it's been a great part of the latter half of my career. And everything I did, I think, up to this point has led me to be an educator for the osteopathic profession. Dr. Ronnie Martin, I appreciate your words so much today. Thank you. And thank you for helping me recognize my son Blake, and much love to you and your family, sir. The invocation that was provided by Dr. Steger, I'm the first one that started calling him Reverend, by the way, because I always had him do my invocations when I was president. And the invocation by Dr. Monka to open the house was so Some of you saw me crying up there, you know, and I said, oh my gosh, I wasn't going to do it, and I couldn't help it. But because it was so heartfelt. Mr. Steve Wynn, and Michelle's here representing, and he taught me how to be a consummate professional and an advocate for the osteopathic profession. He's been a mentor and a father figure to me for all those years. And I want to thank his family for sharing him with me and my family. So I have close friends here with me today. And they were introduced earlier, and I certainly hope that you can meet them at the celebration later tonight. My wife Sherry, and daughter Allison, and Marlena, her partner, is here. And my family has been by my side, never wavering, and for that love and devotion, I hope I will be judged worthy. I have some flowers for them. It's just a very simple expression of my love and gratitude. And the Jimo boys, who I and many of us in here have seen these fine young men grow up. They're so handsome and smart and just do a great job. They're just like their mom. Excuse me, I got to write that down. That was a good one. I just came up with that. I'm like Bob Hope. I archive the good ones, But so there's a theme that I would really like to share with you today. I want to put this forth to kind of help guide this coming year, and it's going to encapsulate several initiatives for the AOA and our profession. And I want to also tie this into our strategic planning goals. And that theme is inspired. Each letter in inspired is going to signify a concept or virtue, and I'm going to talk briefly about those. And we're going to use that as a framework for how together we're going to lead the osteopathic profession. This concept reflects the power of community, united by purpose, connected through membership, and committed to osteopathic medicine. The first is IN for integrity. Now I know that's 2 letters. Okay, I got it. But it's the only way I can make this work, folks, all right? So the foundation of integrity is trust. Trust is really a cornerstone of integrity. And doing what is right, protecting the vulnerable, and following the guiding light of our osteopathic philosophy while maintaining accountability and transparency. We must remain principled and place mission before self-interest. We must continue to defend the sanctity of the doctor-patient relationship, and that governs what the AOA does and what this house does, right, with the advocacy, is we're trying to always protect that. And we may not agree with some of those decisions, but first and foremost is that relationship. Where integrity is highly valued, trust grows, and that is how we grow stronger and thrive. Integrity is the first thread that connects our voices as professionals. S is for service, and at its very core, medicine is a calling to serve. We serve our patients by listening, providing quality care, and showing up where and when we are needed most. Our work changes lives. And when we take care of our patients, and when we teach students to be healers, we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. I thank all of my colleagues here who have been preceptors for students and residents over the years. Please continue mentoring the next generation of students, but particularly osteopathic students, whether it's on campus, in your office or clinic, or in the hospital or nursing home. Our profession needs more DOs teaching DO students. Thank you for that. 80% of our clinical preceptors are MDs, and they're much appreciated. But students will be less inclined to stay within our profession and within our associations and within the orbit of osteopathic medicine if they lose that gravity of not being around an osteopathic physician. And it is the training that we as DOs provide, the stories we tell, and the examples we set as mentors and preceptors that will keep the osteopathic profession thriving as we expand our schools. P is for passion. That's the spark, the energy, the dream of being a physician. Hopefully for all of us, that's what fueled us in our path, the passion for this. Every story that brought us to this place matters. We want passion to be contagious, to be a continual flame that when nurtured will not burn out. And the AOA can help with that. We are not just your professional home, but a place where passion can be renewed, celebrated, and shared. And being an AOA member keeps you engaged in our profession and fosters leadership. So, to this end, I've expanded the appointment book for bureaus, councils, and committees so that every BCC has at least one new physician in practice, at least one postdoctoral / resident, and at least one student. But thank you. Thank you, Ross. You were a little late on that. That's not how we practiced it, brother. All right. And in many cases, more than one, but particularly emphasis on students. We need to give them more opportunities to participate, the young people in our profession. But make no mistake, we're not going to forget the people who got us here and the thousands of DOs over the years that have contributed and sacrificed. Right? But we're going to have that deeper understanding and partnership with what the younger folks need, because we need to give them opportunities for the new insights and the energy and the passion for our profession. So innovation. And what is the first thing we think of? Oh, artificial intelligence, man. Technology. And if you haven't figured it out yet, artificial intelligence didn't help me with any of this, okay? This is all me and a little bit of help from Ann Unger for the AOA. So technology is evolving. AI is everywhere, and along with that comes changing expectations that are reshaping medicine. Innovation is not just digital, it's not just cloud-based, it's not necessarily mechanical. It is about embracing new ways of thinking. Our holistic perspective as osteopathic physicians uniquely positions us to lead meaningful change for our patients, for our practices, and ultimately our profession. And the AOA wants your ideas and your involvement to help us innovate. This room contains many leaders with ideas and skills and experience. Can you identify in your mind some folks who aren't here that should be, that could be, that would have a positive impact and contribute? First, ask them to join the AOA if they're not part of that, but then also their osteopathic specialty college or state organization. Ask them to precept or train a DO student, or do a letter of recommendation for somebody that wants to go to osteopathic school, but get them involved. And if they can teach, they will learn twice. That's what that will mean to them. So help them share their ideas with us and to keep us all thriving. So for that, I've created a task force to explore how the AOA and other stakeholders can work together to promote an increased interest in osteopathic neuromuscular medicine training. We need more folks going in to this residency training program, or I'll just say graduates of these fellowships are uniquely positioned to train students and residents, as well as expand the reach and impact of osteopathic medicine by cultivating skilled mentors and academic leaders. These programs ensure a strong, sustainable pipeline of future osteopathic physicians committed to excellence in patient-centered care and hands-on manual medicine. Thank you. Feel free to clap at any time. I mean, I'll slow it down to get more. That's what I'm here for, you know. But I would like this task force to determine how we can financially support and incentivize more of our students to choose the pathway, this pathway in particular of training, and also explore ways to support currently certified physicians in whatever specialty to do a +1 year of fellowship training. We can do that. We support research. We can maybe perhaps support this. We're going to explore the idea. These individuals could potentially be supported by grants or stipends that would encourage them to partner with the ever-expanding colleges of osteopathic medicine. R is for respect, and it's fundamental to medicine and associations, fundamental to the human relationships on every level, because it fosters teamwork, strengthens collaboration, and empowers us to contribute. As an organization, the AOA must continue to foster respect by having a culture that welcomes all voices, encourages meaningful dialogue, while reassuring every member and stakeholder that their voice is heard and matters. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on respect, but make no mistake, it's crucial and extremely important. We're going to go on to E for excellence. So this is not a destination, but a continuous pursuit. Excellence means striving every day to improve, learn, grow, and teach. We are all highly invested in education. This is evidenced by the campus and class size expansion, the development of graduate medical education, the support of excellence in accountability of our board certification services, the continued recognition and validation of COMLEX and the increased recognition of our training and credentials on the international stage. This commitment to education is ultimately a commitment to our patients, and we must continue supporting pathways that help physicians achieve and maintain certification and excellence throughout their careers. Now this last letter, D, distinctiveness. This is the defining strength of osteopathic medicine. We're distinctive. The holistic approach is not just ours, but we are all in with the holistic approach, and it's not simply what we do, but it is who we are. So the AOA will remain the primary voice to tell our story and proudly share the value of our brand with patients, prospective students, policymakers, and healthcare leaders, and we will more effectively utilize social media to tell that story. And I've asked this House to support the AOA with an initiative to expand the Department of Communications and provide the financial resources so that we may create and adapt and make sure the message of our distinctiveness is clear in every venue that we and space that we want to be. And some of those spaces that we need to reach students and young physicians, and where they are is YouTube, TikTok, Reddit threads. But once again, make no mistake, we're not going to leave those physicians who never heard of YouTube, TikTok, or Reddit, and they just figured out their fax machine. But we're gonna help them, right? So as we look at all of those words, they each mean something. Hopefully they mean a lot to you. But to me, they represent the commitment that will guide our future. So as we begin this next chapter together, I ask all of you to embrace this model of inspired. It's our mindset. Invite others into our osteopathic community and share our mission. Help them discover their voice by attending OMED and DO Day in Washington, D.C., or create their own DO Day or Osteopathic Awareness Day in their own state. Let us be guided by the AOA strategic vision of your journey, our shared commitment. And one of the components that helps us share this commitment is the Osteopathic Pledge. So please, indulge me for a few more moments as I would like to share with you a unique version and my personal interpretation of this pledge. Me, myself, an osteopathic physician, pledge to promise, commit, and dedicate myself, provide, willingly give and serve, compassionate, caring, kind, loving, quality care, that's expertise and excellence in the healing arts, to my patients, the people, my people, our people, partner with them. That means to share and guide and empower, to promote, develop, and encourage health, wellness, and vitality, display, exhibit for all to see, integrity, honesty, accountability, and bravery to do what is right. Professionalism, that's the height of excellence and training. throughout. That's everywhere, all the time, forever. My career, my profession, and my calling. Advance, bring forth, and strengthen, and further elevate the philosophy. That's the belief of our established osteopathic holistic teachings. Practice, the implementation and application, and science. That's our knowledge and our truth of osteopathic medicine. Think of the 4 tenets of what makes us DOs. Continue lifelong. Persist and never stop. Learning. Educate yourself. Gather knowledge. Expand your mind. Support. Advocate. Give your time, your talent, and your treasure. My profession. Our calling, our careers, this AOA. With loyalty, steadfast commitment, and unwavering dedication. In action, in all we do and how we act and react. Word, our written and spoken communication. And deed, that's our conduct and what we attempt and what we try to accomplish and ultimately succeed. And live, be all in, and thrive each day, every day, consistently and intentionally. As an example, be a mentor, be a model, be a preceptor of what an osteopathic physician, who is a most honorable and noble person, well-trained and grounded in fostering wellness and healing with their heart, mind, and hands. Should be, called to be, ought to be, will be, and is. Thank you. Thank you so much. You honor me with that standing ovation. I'm going to give you another chance because y'all are silly if you think I'm done. I don't know what y'all were thinking. Piccinini didn't warn you? You never been to one of my meetings before? But I am in closing. I hope in the future you will think deeper and feel more intently the meaning of this pledge, our pledge. I hope you feel inspired for the future of osteopathic medicine, because if we work together, there are no limits to what we can accomplish. I thank you for your leadership and promises you have made to this profession. I thank you for the trust you have placed in me to serve as the 130th president of the AOA. Sherry and I thank you so much from the bottom of our heart for honoring our son Blake. God bless and blue skies. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 130th AOA President, Dr. Richard Thacker.